Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Maggie, and welcome to the M&M Debrief, the podcast where Mike and Maggie discuss the top stories in politics, sports, and pop culture to make sense of the headlines. Mike, do we have any follow-ups from the last episode?
Yes, I've stopped making predictions, but I'm starting to do Don't Be Surprised. And a couple of episodes ago, I said, don't be surprised if John Fetterman switches over to be a Republican, if there's any doubt that the Republicans would hold on. That appears to be an incorrect assumption. Fetterman came out yesterday very strongly saying, no, I'm not going to join the GOP. I vote with the Democrats 90% of the time, and the other 10%, Democrats just deal with it. So that wasn't a prediction, but don't be surprised if Fetterman stays as a Democrat.
All right.
I'm changing it.
Well, you got to respect that, too. I mean, we should have a big tent on the Democratic side, shouldn't we? All parties.
Yeah, I mean the larger issue is how perfect do you have to be? There's plenty of people I agree with 90% of the time, so, and all of a sudden they say something different here or there. I don't want to get all torqued off about it. So.
Right. Well, I have an update as well, actually. Last time we met, spent quite a long time talking about the Golden Ballroom because there was a $10 billion request put in for funds in the reconciliation bill. And for the ballroom, which was supposed to not cost taxpayers a dime, 10 billion is a little more than a dime. But as it turns out, it looks like the Republicans in the House, as well as the Senate, are beginning to actually balk at the idea, even for them. It seems like it's a step too far, a step too far. So I am going to be a little bit hopeful that maybe the Republicans will see that this will just not be acceptable to most of the voters. And so they will hopefully maybe stop it in its tracks. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it.
But don't we still need an East Wing on the White House? We need something there. He tore it down.
Do we
right?
really, though? I mean, seriously. It's probably pretty attractive, and we want to make government smaller, right? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we need to put something there now because he knocked down the damn thing. It
Right.
turned from a renovation into a complete flip. So, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens, but 10 billion for security is not gonna do it.
Okay.
I hope.
I'm sure that'll be the start of Medicare for all, right? That $10 billion, they'll just put it in there for.
That's right. So I'm sure you can put it in many different places. So we should maybe get started on our topic always that we have now. The first thing we talk about is always the Iran war. And I think you've actually have some stuff for us, Mike.
Yeah, I this is the I don't know, fifth or sixth episode where the Iran war is at the top of the list. Are we going to be like Nightline, the original news
I know.
Yes.
What is this, week 9?
So for those
Or
of you
10?
younger listeners out there, there's a very famous show called Nightline, which was on ABC News, and it was always at 10:30, I think. And it started out with not the Iran-Contra, that's something different.
The hostages.
The Iran hostages, when Iran originally threw over the Shah and took over, and they held American hostages for over a year. And the show called Nightline started on that, and all they talked about was that for a year or whatever.
Yeah, wasn't it like, didn't they always start it with day 43 or day 255? And,
right. You've got day 255 of hostage crisis.
Right.
And the Nightline ended up running for years after the crisis was.
They got a lot of mileage out of it.
They did. So maybe we're the new Nightline. Hopefully. I got
Right.
aspirations. So, all right. Anyway, so we've got the ceasefire that isn't really a ceasefire. I personally, I'm of the opinion that Trump wants the ceasefire to continue because he's told everybody that he doesn't have to go to Congress after 60 days because of the ceasefire. So just the law, the 1973 War Powers Act says the president can start a war, but after 60 days he has to go to Congress for authorization, and he's claiming that with the ceasefire we're on a break. So I think I would say he wants to continue the ceasefire to keep going.
And as you said, Mike, that means he can see other people? No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Yes. So anyway, so there's still stuff going on though. So I guess America and Israel, we're going to start testing what's going on at the Strait of Hormuz. So we've got blockades. The Iranians have gunships and mines. So I guess we're going to see what the hell's going on there. So we sent 3 destroyers into the strait and basically got hit or fired upon pretty aggressively. Nobody got sunk, but the ships basically had to back out and get back out into the Gulf of Oman. So stuff's happening. The fur is flying on a smaller scale. So I'll let you decide whether we're still in a ceasefire or not. America is just at its wits end, as I think internally. I'm just guessing here about what to actually do about this. They're gonna have to go in hard to open this up, and I just don't think we have an appetite for it, and it's be interesting to see what happens. But anyway, they're trying to figure out a way to open it up. I don't see it, just the way the geography is and the capabilities of Iran, which surprised the hell out of everybody, frankly. I don't see it happening unless it gets real bloody. So we'll see how the turns go here with the Navy and everything, but just some shots fired, some destroyers are shooting at Iran. Nobody got sunk. I don't know if anybody got killed or anything. I don't think so, but
Right. Well,
there's some fire.
I think I heard today that Trump is beginning to maybe realize that Iran can outlast us, right? And maybe longer than Trump can when it comes to his approval ratings and the impacts of the cost of fuel and the cost of gas and stuff.
Yeah, he's there's a possibility here that he has some self-awareness and
Maybe. I
he's
heard
trying to
the
figure out what's
right.
happening.
I heard the number 17 months. If we actually opened up the Strait of Hormuz today, it would be 17 months before the price of gas actually got back down to what it was before the war started. 17 months. It's a year and a half almost.
Yeah, I just the supply chain, I guess, on all these
Mhm.
things isn't quite. It's not a light switch. Yeah, so
No.
yeah, you are correct, and I've got another topic later on
Okay. Oh, sorry.
with our cattle supply and how long it would take to ramp back up. But yeah, I mean there's stuff that's actually destroyed between Bahrain, the Saudi
Mhm.
Arabia plants and refineries have been demolished, and they're going to take at least 3 years to get rebuilt.
Right.
And yeah, this is not a switch here, and it's going to slowly degrade here, and then it'll be very much in our faces, and then it's going to take. You're right. It's going to take at least a year and a half, if not more, to get back to normal. That's assuming that everything would have stopped right now, and
Right.
so, and who knows how long. My personal opinion is if I were the Iranians, I would make sure that the strait stayed closed until the midterms, because like, let's say they open it up right now and there's a
Mhm.
possibility that things might be back to normal by the time the midterms occur. If I were Iran, I would make sure that the
Mhm.
strait stayed closed until at least the midterms. That way the American people would be feeling exactly what is going on.
They might be thinking in terms of their strategy. You're right. That would make a lot of sense for them to try and, punish Trump as much as they can by just sitting around and delaying and delaying and delaying
Hmm.
actually participating in any kind of negotiation.
Yeah, yeah. Make him squirm.
Yeah.
I would.
I feel this is kind of very personal, isn't it, against Trump
Well, he killed his father.
and his wife and his son?
Yeah, yeah. The new Khomeini who is in charge. The Khomeini that we killed at the start of the war was the father of the guy who's
Mhm.
now the head of the Khomeini, and we killed his wife and one of his kids. So yeah, I'm gonna
Right.
guess it's personal.
Right.
So, I mean, they are definitely fighting an asymmetric war, from a political and economic financial standpoint. And they know the best way to hurt Americans is to make them pay more money for something. And
And
they
the
know,
best way to hurt Trump is to force us to go through some hardship as well. right?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that Trump pays attention to are the numbers. What's the stock market? What's the interest rate here? What's that? And there's so many Americans who are on the edge.
Mhm.
And I got some numbers later on here. Yeah, we ain't going. They ain't going anywhere. I mean, the only option is nuclear. I I
Mhm.
I, I don't. I can't quite tell how. The Israelis would probably go nuclear in a minute. I think
Mhm.
I think we would not. So I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, so if I may, maybe I'll start something called What If. But if you really want to get to Trump, you should attack the stock market,
That I
right?
absolutely.
And how would Iran go about doing that except maybe through cyber attacks? Or
The
maybe I don't
actual
know enough to know, but
the
yeah. I mean, right now, the one thing that Trump keeps boasting about is the stock market and how great it is. And
mm,
yeah, gas prices are high, but hey, the stock market, the Dow's at 50,000 is the highest ever. And it's the only thing he can point to, even though he's not smart enough to know that it really only impacts corporate investors and the richy rich. I wonder if there's something that Iran would ever do from a cyber standpoint to try and interfere with stock market, but again, I'm just
yeah.
guessing.
Yeah, I mean, as cyber attack is definitely on the table. That's I don't think Iran will do anything like blow up the Lincoln Tunnel or something like that, or the St. Louis Arch or something.
Right.
They're not gonna do a kinetic attack. It would be a cyber attack. Absolutely, they are being tutored by the Russians, and the Chinese, who are at top of their game as far as attacking like
Mhm.
Europe for sure. Russia. There's
Right.
a couple of books about how Russia has attacked other places in Europe. But so they should be able to get into some of our stuff. I would I would think the thing that would hurt more was a steep dive in the stock market, not shutting down
Mhm.
the actual exchange, but trying to get people to sell. And like the opposite seems to be happening now. In fact,
Right.
on the trading rooms that I'm in, and other people, a lot of people just can't quite. I mean, I have a couple of ideas, but the stock market is just going gangbusters right now.
Mm.
And so is that Trump supporters artificially pumping things up,
Mhm.
or is it an indication that the stock market itself is not all that dependent on oil and all this stuff, and like 40% of it is technical stuff?
Right.
Does Meta and Nvidia care what the price of oil is? I don't think so.
Right.
If they wanted to mess with our stock market, they should convince China to go after Taiwan, and then all of a sudden all the semiconductors that in the world are under quarantine, and all these data centers that they want to build can't be built, and all the money that you know has gone into this would just go kaput. And so and then everybody would start dumping all these tech stocks. That might be another thing. I'm pretty sure China's going to go after Taiwan. I just don't quite know when. I think that would be a bigger hit than trying to take the exchange down. If they were going to cyber attack us, I don't know. I think they'd go after the water supply or the electrical grid or something.
Right.
Going after the stock market would get attention, no doubt about that. So I hear you. If I were them, I'd try to get people to sell,
Right.
just so people would look at their 401ks and go, "Hey, what the hell, man?"
Right.
So, all right. Anyway, a couple other things about the war that kind of caught my attention. There's the new lead negotiator, American negotiator to the Iran war for Trump, is a fellow named Nick Stewart, who is, by the way, guess what his day job is? He's an
What?
Israeli, and now he is the head negotiator
Mm.
for us against Iran. So I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I know. I'm going to pause there and suggest maybe he'll be better than Wickoff and Vance. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna
Maybe.
guess that he knows more about Iran than Witkoff and Kushner for sure, and he'll probably not try to be lining his pockets like those two guys are.
Mhm.
But
Or
if
yeah,
he is a registered Israeli lobbyist, so
and that's
and I'm gonna guess he's gonna
interesting.
be thinking about Israeli
Interests.
interests at the same time.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right, does it?
Yeah. So I've seen a second picture of a IDF soldier mocking a Christian symbol. This is kind of astounds me. I don't know if you remember, maybe it was a month ago.
Yeah.
There was a statue of Christ that was being pretty much hit with a sledgehammer by an IDF soldier, and now they've got another Christian monument in Lebanon. These are both in Lebanon. Was kind of sticking a cigarette in the mouth of a
Oh, good lord.
famous Christian. I don't know exactly what it is, but I just these idea of soldiers who are now mocking Christian monuments. I cannot fathom why Christians aren't up in arms like hardcore evangelicals or whatever. And I don't know. One soldier, in the field,
Mhm.
and now all of a sudden you got two soldiers in the field doing it. They're okay with this. The leadership is okay with soldiers doing this. So I don't know if it means anything, but since there's a lot of religious overtones to what's going on here, and you've got a lot of Christian Zionists who are supporting. I don't know. You'd think they'd be up in arms about it. Yeah, you'd think that a group of people who are fighting for the religion is their identity and they're trying to carve out their own spot on the world would have some respect for other religions, but
Mm,
apparently not. Apparently, even the main religion of the country that's helping you fight this war, you'd think you'd have them show a little more respect to the monuments of that religion.
mhm.
I guess not. And in Israel, it's 5 years for if you send out a video, if you record some destruction or some bombing or something, if you record it and then send it out, that's a 5 year penalty. Is in Israel. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. When does it become a trend? If you start to see more of this, I would say it's a trend. It's happened
Uh-huh.
twice. Might be anecdotal, but you never know.
Right.
Let's see, what else do we got here? So I'm starting to hear more scuttlebutt about military leaders, specifically the Navy, pushing back against orders.
Really?
Especially with trying to go into the Strait of Hormuz and forcibly try to make it happen. The Navy leaders, they know that I'm not going to say it's a suicide mission, but it's not trivial. You can't just roll in with 3 destroyers and open up that strait. It's not going to happen. And I'm just hearing a lot more scuttlebutt about naval leaders pushing back on those orders, pushing back on Hegseth, pushing back on Trump. There's no mutiny yet, but increasing direct conflict. I know we're not doing that. We ain't doing that.
So this is not an illegal order. It is more that you're asking us
To do something
to do
stupid.
something
Yeah.
that will most certainly get us all killed, and it's maybe more of a bad judgment?
Right. Right. Yeah, more bad judgment. I'm not going to use the M word yet.
Mhm.
I'm just hearing a lot more stories. I got not quite corroborating evidence, but
Mm,
things are getting out that they're pushing back hard on yeah,
well,
we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. Maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that, or maybe they'll turn around and tell the ship commanders, don't go nuts here. Get in. If they're giving you flack, get out, that kind of thing. So I'm not going to use the M word, but we'll see. And then the one thing about the Iranians, I know that if you're in favor of the war, you don't really believe this, but they are truthful. And when they say you're going to do something, they're probably going to do it. And right, and there are a lot of people who they think, oh, I totally trust the president, and everything that Iran says is a lie or whatever. And a lot of commentators I follow are actually, they know when Iran says they're going to do something, it's pretty good chance they're going to do it. And they've come out and basically said, if you start to go after our infrastructure, we are going to go after your desalination plants. So, and I've mentioned this a few times, if a desalination plant in Kuwait City gets taken off, it is uninhabitable. And
right, people will die of thirst,
right,
literally.
especially, I mean, it's bad enough in the middle of the winter, but now we're starting to push towards summer.
Mm.
And they've pretty much said, yeah, no, we're going to go with Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia,
UAE.
UAE, probably Israel as well. So anyway, nobody's said anything, nobody's done anything, but
Mhm.
if the Iranians say they're going to do it, there's a pretty good chance they're going to do it.
Okay, so can I tie this back to something else? I understand that the UAE and maybe other countries were the reason why Trump did a U-turn on quote unquote Project Freedom, which we were talking about on Tuesday, only a few days ago. And it was because they were so upset with him doing that, that he actually said, "Oh, okay, fine, 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 whatever, I'll get out of there." So he turned around and pulled his people out. Now, I'm wondering if the other Middle Eastern countries who are our allies also already know and believe that Iran will follow through on threats. So when the US goes in and makes any kind of aggressive move against Iran, they know that they're going to be the ones paying the price. So they're the ones that are reaching out to Trump now and say, "No, no, no, don't you dare do that. Get your butt out of there. Don't make them mad and don't make them come after us."
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I should have had this on my list, honey.
Well, I'm just kind of like I said, I'm just kind of connecting dots.
right, right. That was the reason that Project Freedom. And by the way, did you know the funny play on words that they're calling it Freedom, DUMB? So
Oh my God.
yeah, so that's why it within 48 hours, it got turned off because Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates wouldn't let them use the airfields or the military base, which they need to resupply and repair anything, and they
Mm,
basically said nope, sorry. So yeah,
yeah.
what the GCC, which is the Gulf Coast Council, I think it's
Okay.
basically all those countries together are referred to as the GCC. Yeah, I really wonder where they are going. I cannot. I'm pretty sure that when this all settles down 3 years from now, that they're all going to be in bed with Iran because they know they can't trust the Americans. Iranians will help them get stuff rebuilt, and they're all going to be a force. And America's going to be out of there. It's just not quite happening yet because they're getting bombed, which I understand why would make them angry. But yeah, no, this is definitely a thing with the GCC countries. I think are going to start turning on America. I don't know why they haven't turned on them already, but and so we'll see how this plays out. But it's definitely going to affect the military operations because they can't. They need some port to show up and to pull in and be able to fix stuff and all that stuff.
Right.
And they're not going to. What's left? They're not. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who's left.
Right.
All right. Well, I guess we shall see.
It sounds like Trump may have met his match, though, with Iran.
It's a pretty low bar. But yeah, no,
Right.
the Iranians. Well, here's what one thing that America doesn't seem to understand is that other people in the world are smart. Just
Yeah.
because we're not white Christian Americans, guess what? The Iranians are pretty fucking smart. Oh, sorry for the language. Chinese are pretty damn smart. Russians are
Right.
pretty smart, and just
Mm-hmm.
the total inability to see the end of the world through the eyes of your enemy is you're breaking like Sun Tzu, Art of War, rule number one: know your enemy.
Mm-hmm.
They just cannot. And the American public is the same
Don't
way.
underestimate them.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
They didn't hang around for 5,000 years because they're dumb. I mean,
For
give me a break.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have topic number 2. So I have to say that generally what I'm witnessing as a taxpayer in terms of the spending by our government and specifically the Trump administration is just making me a little crazy. And then this week, I think it was this morning, we heard that the US national debt that is held by the public, and I'll explain that in a minute, that was held by the public has officially surpassed the nation's annual gross domestic product, the GDP, exceeding 100% of the economy for the first time since World War II. All right, what does that mean? Well, The national debt held by the public is all that money that our treasury has borrowed from outside lenders, just like a credit card, right? When we use our credit card, we're actually borrowing money from a corporation, Visa, MasterCard, whatever, Chase, Citibank. In this case, the lenders are individuals, corporations, state and local governments, Federal Reserve, and foreign governments like Japan and China. So they have purchased our debt. And, I think you and I talked before, Mike, that we're a little nervous that China has actually purchased so much of our debt because, like any lender, they can call in their debt and that would actually screw us up a lot.
What what they can do is just sell their bonds. By the way, I don't know if you know, the bonds float in a secondary market just like stocks do. You can just go on and buy a 30-year note
US
from
Treasury bonds?
yeah
Okay.
from Microsoft. They do have an auction. They have an auction regularly for bonds and bills of various lengths. 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and stuff. But then they all float in a secondary market. So I can go on and buy a bond from Microsoft or buy a bond from the U.S. Treasury or whatever. And as the
And you
price,
get payments.
right. And once you have a bond, you get the coupon payments. And then you get the value of the bond paid back to you at the end. So the thing about interest rates and the price of bonds is that they move in inverse. They're an inverse relationship. So as the price of a bond goes down, the interest rate goes up. So if you've got a large entity like China or other foreign governments selling the bonds with more enthusiasm, then the price is going to go down, as you will know. And guess what happens to interest rates? They go up.
Yeah.
So, which is bad for us since we got to borrow an obscene amount of money just to keep going here.
The interest.
We want interest rates to be down. That's why Trump always talks about. That's why he wants the new Fed chairman to lower interest rates. Which he wants people to borrow money so to start businesses and all this stuff. But all this debt that we have is a lot of it. You're right. It's owned by foreign agencies or entities rather, and that's largely because of the petrodollar system where they have to buy, which is falling apart, by the way. But just since 1974, we've had to buy, if you wanted to buy oil, which is everybody buys oil, they have to do it in dollars. Then they go to Saudi Arabia or wherever you go, you have to sell it or buy it in U.S. dollars. So they got to have a lot of dollars on hand. The country of Japan or China or whoever. Now this is falling apart, then these countries don't need to hold all our bonds. Then so they're going to start dumping them. And the yields are going to go up, and then the new bonds that get issued have to have a larger interest rate on it to compete with the bonds that are in the secondary market. So that means that whoever issues the bonds are going to have to, which is us, are going to have to pay more in interest. You can do the math here. You got $39 trillion in debt. The difference between 4.3% and 4.4% is a heffing lot of money.
It's a lot of money, yeah.
And and then furthermore, it's also a safety issue. Usually, my whole life, when people got worried about their money, they always bought treasury bonds or T-bills or whatever. And now other debt of other sovereign countries is starting to be looked at as equal in safety. Let's say Australia is just as likely to buy Chinese bonds as they are buy American bonds because they're looking at it as equally safe.
Right.
Which is also bad for us because then we've got to have
ours can't compete.
Ours can't compete.
Attract the buyers.
Right. So what do you think we're going to do to increase and to attract buyers to our bonds? Increase the interest rate. They get more of a return, which is also bad.
Okay.
High interest rate is great when you're save money or you're a bond owner, but it's terrible when you're the bond payer, right? So the thing that the benchmark number that you should look at are the yield on the 10-year notes, which is now at 4.36%. This is the average yield on 10-year
Mm.
notes. And then also the average yield on 30-year bonds, which is pushing 5%. 5% is the the tripping point. When things go over 5%, people freak out. 30-year bonds are at 4.96%.
Mm.
So they're pushing 5%, but I think it's the 10-year. The 10-year is only at 4.36. So when it starts pushing toward 5%, then people are going to start freaking out.
Okay. So China is really trying to compete with us, who has traditionally been the leader and offered bonds that everybody wanted to buy. Now China is seeing an opening, an opportunity to step in and start being the one to sell and make money from bonds at the detriment of the US. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And that's the asymmetric nature of this war here, where it's not nobody's going to invade America. Now, I know if you're out there with your 47 guns and you think the Chinese are going to invade San Francisco, no. We got two massive oceans between us and the rest of the world. So the only way that people can get to us is through finance and cyber. Cyber is also a thing. We talked about that a few minutes ago. Yeah, what's the worst thing you can do to American is it hurt his pocketbook, right? Because we're so obsessed and we've taken capitalism to the next level.
Mm.
Yeah, interest rates, and exports, and people are pissed about the tariffs. Well, yeah, we'll just
Mhm.
stop buying your stuff and or selling to you, and we'll sell to somebody else.
Right.
So they're trying to go after us monetarily. Yep, for sure.
Okay. So what can Americans do? I mean, this is an odd question for you, Mike. You're not on the CNBC or anything. What can Americans do at this time? Do they really need to start just watching their spending? I know they already are, but saving their money and trying to really reduce their spending and
Right.
reduce
Well,
their
I mean
debt
that.
on credit cards and stuff.
Well, you should have zero on your credit cards. That's my financial
I
advice.
know
If you're
people are
if
using their credit cards to buy groceries now, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's that ought to tell you a lot about what's going on. Prices are going to go up. The price of gasoline is going to go up. The price of food is going to go up because you need diesel to transport that.
And they likely won't come down.
Yeah, and they're going to be up for a while. Oh, maybe you might want to stock up a little bit on some stuff that might, that's not perishable that you can store for a while. Maybe some rice or some flour. You probably want to start loading up on hamburger, throw it in your freezer
Or just eat chicken instead.
or chicken. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hamburger's expensive now. Yeah, it's very expensive.
Yeah, you might have to back off on the red meat and maybe go to
Try
chicken,
beans.
pork,
Beans.
fish. It might be a little cheaper.
Right, 'cause I think we were also talking before that a lot of the producers will say beef in the US and also other commodities like oil. They're really taking advantage of these high prices right now, right? And they are making bank, right?
Mm,
By being able to not increase supply and instead maintain a lower supply so that demand is high and therefore they continue to make a lot of money per pound or per gallon on what they're producing at our expense. The only power that we have apart from voting and that is being, challenged right now, but the only power we have is the power of the purse. And if we went and boycotted beef for a month, see what happens. I mean, there's only so much you can do in terms of, fuel, I mean, and heating and things like that. We have no choice. But if we just need to start using our power more, and we do have power in our size, and I think need to start leveraging it more.
Yeah, no, I am totally behind the power of the purse. In fact, there's a website, Resist and Unsubscribe, which is going toward more of the tech stuff.
Yeah,
But now we're talking food. I don't know
it's
if
hard, I know, but
don't know if people, guys who are cattle farmers, I mean, it's their natural instinct to try to get as much while
Money as possible.
because their margins are so tight to begin with. So, if they're thinking, "Oh, I'm not going to raise more cattle because I can have the same expenses and get twice as much for my beef." So that's just a natural thing to do. They spend so many years with low margins. So I don't think they're being mean or gouging. It's just, you know, I
It's
I've been yeah, I've
that's
been
just
pretty
their
dry.
nature, the nature of people who are in a
Then
capitalist country. They
right, exactly.
will try to
Right,
like everybody make
we've
more money.
decided that we're an oligarchy and we're gonna have corporations running everything. So guess what? They're gonna it's the same thing with oil. You think, well, we America has plenty of oil to have our own needs, but they can sell it on the market for twice as much as they can just give it to America. And so
Right.
we've decided that we're capitalists, and if Chevron Oil wants to sell all this oil for 140 a barrel, and they could give it to their own country here for 80,
Right.
we decided that that's better with through our elected officials and
Right.
everything. So I
We
don't think they're
decided that
necessarily
it's okay for Chevron to make more money at the expense of the American
right.
population.
We've made that collective decision as a people to
Mm.
deal with it. And,
And we
I don't,
voted in these.
we
Yeah,
voted
well, it
in.
doesn't even matter. All the politicians are the same
Yeah,
in my
we
mind.
voted in the people that give them all tax breaks and stuff.
Mhm.
You'd think they would eventually help out their country. They would have to be nationalized. You'd have to nationalize the beef industry. You have to nationalize the oil industry to get them, and then
Then that
that'll
yeah, that's
lead to all
right.
kinds of massive problems
Well, just
with.
do like you and I do. When was the last time I haven't bought beef for months,
We
you
need to go
know?
out for a steak dinner tonight, honey, before it gets too bad.
Get a burger maybe, be cheaper.
So just
I had this enormous list of things to talk about regarding spending, but I really appreciated our conversation here
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about China. And
and
I will say there was one thing else that I saw regarding China, and I am not quite connecting the dots on it. But it sounds like Trump is going to invite Xi Jinping to invest $1 trillion in building new manufacturing companies here in America. Now,
well,
I am not smart enough to connect dots, but I think there's dots there to be connected.
I why would he do that? Well, I mean,
Exactly. There must be a reason. Um, I'm not sure.
well, everybody who's sharp, which are the Iranians, the Chinese, the Russians are a little different, but they know that we're over a barrel. So he might do one factory. Yeah, we'll make one car factory in Omaha, and we're gonna keep the rest of it here. That way,
What
Trump
about our
can.
American car automakers and all the Americans employed
Well,
there?
they're all those American companies are now basically North American. They get half of their stuff gets made in Canada, the other third gets made in Mexico, and just the corporation is in Detroit. But basically, the car is assembled over the whole continent, basically.
Mhm.
But yeah, that would, of course, Trump would say that, but just think of how humiliating is this? America has to go to China and say, "Hey, build a factory. Will you please build a factory for us? Maybe we ought to start our own initiative and take all our bright engineers that we say we have, and we'll build our own damn plant in Omaha instead." I don't mean to keep picking on Omaha. Sorry, instead of begging China to do it. Why don't we compete? Like we did with the Japanese. The Japanese we had crap cars in those 70s, and Japan came in with these better cars, and it took us a while, but we started making better cars, so maybe we ought to just quit begging. And if this is the way we're going to be, America first, sure. Quit griping and start making a factory here instead of begging China to do it. I understand why he's doing it, but Xi Jinping will probably do one factory just to get him to shut up, and then everything else will
Well,
stay in China.
if you have $1 trillion worth of manufacturing plants here in the US, suddenly you have leverage and suddenly you can make threats
True, True.
to a government to say, hey, you do this or I'll pull my plants and go back to China. And I really don't care.
That's an interesting point. How many plants do you need to wield real leverage? Let's
A
say you got
trillion dollars worth is kind of
well,
a lot.
$1 trillion is a lot of money. They might do a couple of plants, but why would China employ that much money when they could do it and employ their own people? Though they're going to do it, I would understand your point here.
I think Trump isn't, I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Trump is saying that, oh, you can build your plants here and you can hire a bunch of Americans to build your cars here. So
So
you can
this
buy a lot, you can build a lot of plants for $1 trillion.
Right. Well, then the problem there is that we've become subservient. Like
Yes,
we which is bad.
we're beholden, we're obligated, and now they have
We're
leverage.
beholden. Right. No, I understand that, but do you think the Americans would stand for that? We like to be the top dog, and we farm out our plants to the Philippines, and now all of a sudden we got China farming out their plants to us.
Okay,
You think at some point we'd have some
right,
self-respect, yeah?
right. So
But maybe not. I don't know.
isn't there that company Fox? Are they Chinese?
Foxconn, yeah,
Yeah,
they
Foxconn. Walker was the governor, and he invited Fox in, and didn't he they rip off, Wisconsin
Yeah,
big
yeah,
time?
and full disclosure, I'm from southern Wisconsin, so I'm kind of familiar. And boy, the roads got improved in Racine, that's for sure. And there's
Right.
a nice plant there, that's for sure. You and I have driven on those nice roads, and then all of
Well,
a
is
sudden,
it empty?
then
Are there people working there even?
then nothing happened. I think it actually got purchased by Microsoft to make a data
Uh,
center. I think
a data center.
let me do some research on that, but I think Microsoft or Amazon, somebody bought it to put in a data center.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that.
So,
Let me do some
should
research.
we share that little anecdote with Trump?
Yeah.
And what about TikTok?
Well,
That's
what about
another
another?
deal that was owned by China, right?
Yep. Now it's on.
And now we kind of insisted that we needed to own it. And obviously TikTok is very popular, but I just don't. I need to do some more research on this, obviously, but just
Yeah,
don't
I know.
think it's a smart idea to let a fox in the hen house.
Yeah,
You know,
well, we'll see. I mean, remember now this is the Epstein class talking amongst themselves. So what about the rest of us? I mean, I would be humiliated. I mean, am humiliated that some of these other companies build a place in South Carolina or Tennessee or wherever they do. We're supposed to be America, and now we're begging with our hand out, basically our hat in hand, going,
yeah,
"Oh,
it's embarrassing.
please, sir, will you build a plant in Tennessee for us?"
Right,
So, all right.
right.
Anyway,
So I think, honey, this was a great conversation on this
mm,
topic, and I covered about 10% of what was on my list, but I really enjoyed the conversation, and maybe we should move on to the next topic.
move on to the business report. Just to
Yeah.
finish up our beef conversation. So, America now has 86 million head of cattle, which sounds like a lot, but it's actually very small. It's about the same level as during the Truman administration in 1951.
Where there were a lot fewer people. We're up
Lot
to
fe-
350 million people
there are
now.
a lot fewer people. And for various reasons, our supply is going down. Beef has been up 12% this year so far, and it looks like it'll be up another 6%. We talked a couple episodes ago about what's going on in Argentina, but for various reasons of fertilizer and feedstock and all this stuff, yeah, our beef supply is getting tight and prices are going to go up. So if you're looking for some advice, maybe head over to the Jewel Osco or whatever, or the Kroger or wherever you live, and start loading up on some steaks and some hamburger because it's going to get higher as we go here. Let's see. We did talk about the bonds. Oh, okay. So the price of a gallon of gas is still at $4.94 at our corner gas station. Nothing has gone up then. Although that's the cash price. The actual card price is $4.99. It's getting close to $5 a gallon. And then I just read an article by this outfit called Greenline Insights. They're observers of the oil and gas industry, energy industry, and how it affects your regular day-to-day households. And they're estimating that coming up, that the issue with the Strait of Hormuz is going to cost every household in America over $1,500 a year, because gas prices are going to go up, food prices are going to go up, and it's going to be a $215 billion hit to the GDP, and it's going to cost $1.6 million or 1.6 million jobs based on, because you're spending more money on gas, so you got less money to spend on something else. So that's just an estimate by this outfit, Greenline Insights. So take it for what it's worth. Other places will have similar, predictions as well. So, and what's next? The what I saw.
Don't be surprised.
My favorite section here. What I saw and/or don't be surprised. So apparently, Vladimir Putin, Prime Minister of Russia, is in hiding. He's been not
Well, I
seen.
was looking for him. I'd missed him now. It's
He has
shame.
not been seen for weeks, and he is apparently afraid of getting assassinated. And I guess we could thank the Ukrainians for that. They've developed their drone technology to such a degree that he's at risk at the Kremlin or Moscow, and I don't quite know exactly where exactly he is all the time, but the range on some of these drones has increased to such a degree that Putin is scared for his life.
Well, considering the number of colleagues that he's murdered, I guess I don't blame him.
Yeah, so take that for what it's worth. So we'll see what happens, but Vlad is a little scared, apparently. So,
Aw.
all right, our second item on what I saw is, hey, we got another virus, so you better get your masks out and be ready to go, because there's a cruise ship off the coast of Argentina that has 8 people, I think, if not, maybe, well, probably more than that, but 3 people have died of this thing called a hantavirus, and I'm not exactly an immunologist here or a biologist, but the
Comes from
hantavirus,
mice.
yeah, it comes from proximity to waste products, but now apparently you can transport it from one human to another, which is bad.
Right.
And so I don't know how it stacks up against COVID, but hopefully we won't have another virus. But it got me thinking about how would we react if it turned into something like COVID? Would we do the same things that we did during COVID, or would we do
I
things
think
completely different?
so. I think so, but we also lack the mRNA research facility that was working as
Mm-hmm.
part of I guess, part of our health system. But now so we would be behind the 8 ball
Mm-hmm.
in terms of getting to create a vaccine. But I understand, though, frankly, that it's not likely to be like COVID because it is actually hard to transmit from person to person. I understand that you have to be like very intimate with someone,
Okay.
like basically be a spouse, be living with someone closely in order to get it. You don't get it by casually sitting
Mm-hmm.
next to somebody who has it, for example. But
Okay.
it is scary.
Yeah, I was just.
Yeah, and this is a new strain that is actually showing that it can be transmitted, whereas other strains have not, and it's never been a big concern in that way. So that is scary that this virus is mutating as they always do. And so, if this particular strain is mutating and it's beginning to get transmitted from person to person, but it's only with people who are in close, intimate
Mm,
contact with each other, you might assume that in time to come, it will again mutate and
mm-hmm.
potentially become easier to get like a COVID,
Yeah.
I
I
would
just
think.
I just think that we'd probably do things very differently if this were to
Do
blossom.
you?
Yeah, just with people's got. I don't know why. Well, I don't know why they're skeptical about vaccines, but a lot of people are skeptical about vaccines now, even though they're incredible. Wearing masks, staying home, that kind of stuff.
Right.
I think we do things a lot differently if something like this were to pop up again.
So you're thinking we wouldn't pursue a vaccine?
Well, we'd pursue a vaccine, but I don't know how many people would take it.
Yeah,
Because you need a certain percentage to get
right.
herd immunity, and
Sure.
so much skepticism for whatever reason. So
Right. And given who we have as head of Health and Human Services,
yeah. Okay, well, it's a whole nother episode, but all right. Let's see. I got a little sports item. World Cup. So a lot of people are just not coming because of the
really,
cost, because of the ice issues, and other reasons. They're pretty much effing pissed at us. They don't want to come to America. And so much so that I don't know the exact name of the association, but there's a U.S. hotel association that puts out, various posts and stuff, and they're treating the World Cup, because that's the whole thing was that all these hotels were supposed to get a lot of money because people were coming to go to the games,
they
and
were charging a lot.
charging them like crazy,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be special, and now they are classifying the World Cup as a non-event.
Okay. So now I'm like, it's partly their fault
Yeah,
because they were trying to charge so much for
gouge everybody. Yep.
gouging people coming over who are just normal people, half of them. It's not
Right.
the richy
Right.
rich.
Yeah, and this is not all America. This is part of FIFA as well, the Worldwide Federation of Soccer, and just it's the World Cup. I mean, for those of you that are only follow American sports, this dwarfs any Super Bowl. You're talking billions of people watch this, and to have it considered a non-event by the Hotel Association.
It's an embarrassment.
It's an and yeah, it's speechless. I'm
No
speechless.
one's going to want America to ever host it again.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think the teams will boycott it. I think, they're athletes. They only have one shot at this in their careers. They're probably not going to boycott. But man, it's going to be we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But there's not going to be a lot of people going.
I don't think America is acting in a way that makes or allows people to like us anymore. And
Yeah, yeah, we used to be the rogues, kind of the rascal rogues. Oh, you crazy Americans, and now we're just dicks, so.
we were admired. We were admired for our chutzpah, for our get up and go, for our energy and our problem solving. And
Mhm.
really, we were admired. People wanted to be like us. They wanted to be here. Now, and I'm sorry, but, Donald Trump is our leader and he represents us and he does not represent us well. I'm sorry, coming across as a jerk and an asshole. And now that is rubbing off on us. We are jerks and assholes. And guess what? Charging $150 for a shuttle to get to a game from a hotel is another example of being assholish. And America needs to take a hard look at itself in the mirror and determine who we want to be. Are we the types of people that want to be admired by the rest of the world? Or are we just out to make a buck and look out for ourselves and we don't care about anybody else?
Yeah, I like to change one thing. You said he's coming across as a jerk and an asshole. I would change that to he is a jerk and an asshole. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is the whole thing about this is not who we are. I hear a lot of people say, this is not who we are. This is not who we are. I'm beginning to think this is who we are. And we need to change things, I guess, somehow. So
Yeah.
that's a whole nother
It's
episode.
probably a combination, honey, because I don't think we were always like this.
Hmm.
This has become lately a country where the Epstein class is leading
Yep. Yep.
and they are looking out for themselves
Hmm.
at the expense of others
Hmm.
and they don't care.
All right. And then I got one more thing. So Ted Turner, who I don't know who's heard of Ted Turner, but Ted Turner was a a great capitalist and entrepreneur. He was the founder of CNN. He had died a couple days ago. He would be the last guy that I would call a captain of industry, kind of this large personality who just went after it and was ahead of the game on a lot of stuff. He won the America's Cup, which is a sailing race. He founded CNN, and by the way, the original CNN was a lot better than the current CNN. Captain of industry, generous, caring. He gave $1 billion to the UN for various funding. 14 grandchildren. He felt he had an obligation to serve because of his wealth. And boy, just sad. Might be the last of his kind.
Cool. He was married to Jane Fonda too.
Married to Jane Fonda. He owned the Atlanta Braves for a while. Yeah, just irreverent, and I don't know, it's sad. So we'll see who's left after this, but
Right. All right. We need to arrange it so our last topic ends in a high note. I'm going to
yes.
put that in the meeting agenda for
Sorry.
next week.
I always have one positive. Okay, fine.
Something positive to end with. Maybe a
one
dad
positive.
joke. No.
Give a dad joke, something positive. Okay, fine. In my research,
Okay,
I'll
we'll
come
work
up
on
with.
that.
I'll work on a positive
Can we make
ending.
up something positive? Anything good?
Yeah, if we can't find anything, we'll make it up.
Okay. That sounds great. Well, that's all we have for today. And if you have any comments or questions, please do let us know. Write those in. And also, please follow us. And of course, if you know anyone who would enjoy our podcast, please go ahead and share it with them. So thank you.
Thank you for listening to episode 9.
Goodbye.